thank you for the introduction, and it's great to be here. So, coming from graphic design, I wasn't quite sure how to start to speak about my practice, but I thought I couldn't go wrong if I started with an image of a photographer. This photograph shows an image of a photographer who is Seth Sieglaub, who is an American art dealer and curator. And here he's being pictured in front of his temporary exhibition space in Manhattan. At the time that this photograph was taken in the late 1960s, artists, American conceptual artists, were starting to kind of rethink the very materiality of art. And Sieglaub, as a curator, had a very interesting response to this. He proposed that, realizing that the artwork no longer kind of required a physical exhibition space, he proposed, through a very kind of simple twist, that the book could actually become an exhibition space. And he gave the title of his exhibition the name January 5 to 31, 1969. And so that exhibition you can see sitting on this coffee table. And so rather than the book, in a way, documenting an exhibition, which is very often what happens, the publication became the exhibition. So the publication became the kind of primary format or site of the exhibition. So for myself and the other members of my graphic design studio called Zach Group, this image is something that's, for us, very special, because it serves as an example of how we as graphic designers can give shape to culture in innovative ways. Zach Group is a studio that I started 10 years ago. I now co-direct it with a partner, Gregory Ambos, and our work is dedicated to the idea of graphic design being a way to co-produce culture. So in our studio, which is based in London, we work on commission projects, but we also work on self-initiated projects, which can take the form of publications, of exhibition designs, of identities, or of websites. So as kind of active participants in the cultural field, we are very aware of the ways in which we are able to give shape to culture. As designers, we often work with images that are not produced by us and words which are placed in our work. And photography for us has a great opportunity to consider the question of how to give shape to culture. So I wanted to show two different projects which take different formats and show ways in which we've tried to answer this question. So the first will be a publication, and the second will be an identity. For us, publications are a way to think of publishing as a kind of site for debate and for discourse. For us, it's very important that each publication gives shape to its content in a unique way, and that books, rather than being a kind of static object on a table, have the possibility to co-produce culture with the artist or architect or photographer whose work that they present. Each book that we work on, we try kind of quite rigorously to question its form in relationship to its content. And I wanted to show one book in particular. This is a book that we made in collaboration with the artist Tony Alsler, and it was produced to coincide with an exhibition of his work at the Luma Foundation in Arles. Tony was invited to make an exhibition, not of his work as an artist, which is rather well known, but of an archive that he owns, and the title is Imponderable, the Archives of Tony Alsler. And Tony, for reasons I'll describe later, has over time acquired a vast archive of photography that documents the spirit world. So he owns spirit photography, mesmerism, examples of magic and witchcraft and UFOs and all sorts of areas of intrigue. We were invited to work with him to go through his archive and to present this in the form of a book. And there have been very kind of rigorous academic books on spirit photography. What makes this quite different is that it's a very kind of idiosyncratic artist project with this art, with this material. This image I came across in the archive, and I was immediately attracted to it and proposed it for the cover, and Tony said that that would be great because his mother would love it. It's actually his mother and being photographed in a way to show her kind of supernatural aura that surrounds her. So his family was in fact deeply involved in the spirit world. These are some images that both he and his father and even grandfather collected over time. It also includes objects such as ectoplasm. And why I thought this would be interesting to show is because photography here is really a central concern. His great-grandfather, Tony Fulton Ausler, in the 1920s became very involved in trying to discredit the spirit world. And he would produce basically fake spirit photographs and then try to get them verified by so-called credible spiritual photographers. So this is one of the images that he produced. He was called a debunker. He became friends with Harry Houdini, who also tried to debunk the spiritual through magic. And this, he would then later publish the photographs to debunk or discredit the very people who said that these were authentic. And I think what is really interesting here is that at this moment, photography was seen as a way to either prove or disprove belief systems as a kind of ultimate fact. And so by manipulating it, one can really play with entire kind of cultural belief systems. So the next project I wanted to show is an identity. And when we are invited to conceive of graphic identities, it's a kind of similarly collaborative project. We work with institutions to give shape to their programs. For us, identity projects are not conceived of separately from publishing projects or exhibition projects, but are thought about as on a continuum of giving shape. Identity projects for us incorporate different elements like typography, a logo type, images, and they all, in a way, express institutional positions. These are a few different identity projects that we've worked on. I wanted to show something that we made quite recently. This is a photograph of fashion designer Paco Rabanne, who himself trained as an architect at the École des Beaux-Arts and later went into the world of fashion and had an approach which was really more about kind of constructing. He was friends with the kind of Parisian intelligentsia. We were then invited in 2015 by a designer, Julien de Sena, who took over the Paco Rabanne fashion house to reconsider the identity. And so we were kind of invested into the history of that brand to try to give shape to a new version of it. For us, it was also a kind of first instance in working with photographers in the context of a campaign. This was something very new to us. And we had proposed to create these kind of chromed objects which present the new identity. They were then photographed in a campaign by Maurice Sheltons and Lisbeth Abens in a campaign that, interestingly, presents no clothes and no models, and presents these kind of pseudo-futuristic consumer landscapes. And this for us was interesting, that photography could be also a way to connect with the kind of institutional history. So just to kind of conclude, our role as graphic designers is very much in a place where we kind of mediate ideas and knowledge and also content. And for us, both design and photography really open up a possibility of providing new ways to think about how to give shape to culture. So thank you.